Welcome back to Autistically Accurate and My Pensieve. I bet you're gonna like it. My Pensieve episode 53. Of Faithful Roles and Sacred Schisms, the Parallel Dungeons & Dragons Edition Wars, Sedevacantist Fellowship vs. Protestant Community. In this world of passionate adherents both religious faith and tabletop gaming, there exist fiercely devoted tribes who regard their respective traditions as sacrosanct. The comparison between Sedevacantism in Catholicism and the Old School Renaissance, OSR, in Dungeons & Dragons offers a fascinating lens through which to examine how people respond to change, preserve heritage, and form tribes around shared values. As well as the fervent disagreements over church doctrine and liturgy to the notorious edition wars among D&D players. Key figures and leaders, guiding the flock. Leadership shapes the evolution of both movements. For Sedevacantists, Archbishop Marcel Lefebvre of the Society of St. Pius X, SSPX, was pivotal in rejecting Vatican II reforms, later inspiring stricter groups such as the Congregation of Mary Immaculate Queen, CMRI. Similarly, figures like Gary Gygax and Dave Arnson serve as the spiritual founders of the OSR movement. Gygax's creation of Dungeons & Dragons in 1974 is revered as a Genesis moment, his original vision treated as scripture by many OSR adherents. Just as Sedevacantists reject the post-Vatican II papacy and hold fast to pre-Vatican II practices, the OSR champions early editions of D&D, embracing their simplicity and reliance on player ingenuity. The OSR's reverence for the high Gygaxian original rule sets is akin to the veneration of the Latin Mass, both regarded as untouchable symbols of a golden age. 3. X and mainstream modernity. Meanwhile, later designers like Monty Cook, 3. X, Mike Merles, 5e, and others symbolize reformist influences, akin to theologians like Karl Rahner or John XXIII, who helped modernize Catholicism post-Vatican II. This transition from advanced Dungeons & Dragons, AD&D, to 3e, 3.5e represents a seismic shift comparable to the Catholic Church's Vatican II reforms. Just as Vatican II modernized Catholicism to engage a broader audience, 3. X introduced the D20 system, accessibility-focused mechanics, and a modular structure. For some, these changes signified progress; for others, they were heretical departures from the one true way. The Great Schism of AD&D, identifying the clans. The split between AD&D 1e and 2e mirrors the historical Great Schism of 1054, which divided Eastern Orthodox and Western Catholic churches. While both editions share a common ancestry, the diverging philosophies fostered distinct identities. Similarly, the schism created by AD&D gave rise to debates about which approach better preserved the spirit of the game. In both realms, distinct tribes form based on their acceptance or rejection of change. 1. Traditionalists, Sedevacantists and OSR players. Religion. Reject Vatican II, adhering to the Latin Mass and pre-modernist Catholic traditions. Gaming. Reject modern editions, embracing original D&D, OD&D, Basic, Expert, B, X, and Advanced D&D 1e. They value player creativity and DM rulings over rigid rules. 2. Moderates, mainstream Catholics and 3e, 3.5e enthusiasts. Religion. Accept Vatican II reforms while maintaining a conservative interpretation of doctrine. Gaming. Support 3. X editions as a balance of tradition and modernization, appreciating the D20 system's complexity and customizability. 3. Reformists, post-Vatican II Catholics and 5e advocates. Religion. Embrace inclusivity, vernacular liturgy, and ecumenism. Gaming. Champion 5e's accessibility and inclusivity, celebrating its appeal to new players and diverse audiences. 4. Progressives, radical liberals and 4e, story gamers. Religion. Push for sweeping reforms, including women's ordination and LGBTQ+ inclusion. Gaming. Support D&D 4e or even non-traditional systems like Fate, prioritizing balance, storytelling, and streamlined mechanics. Significant schisms and their causes. 1. AD&D 2e and the Great Schism. Much like the 1054 split between Eastern Orthodoxy and Western Catholicism, Advanced D&D 2e introduced significant changes that alienated some traditionalists. For OSR purists, these changes signaled a departure from Gygax's original vision, much like the addition of the Filioque clause exacerbated theological divisions. 2. Vatican II and III. X editions. The reforms of Vatican II and the innovations of III X share a legacy of modernization. Both sought to engage broader audiences, Vatican II with vernacular liturgy and III X with the D20 system. Critics argue that both compromised their foundational principles to attract newcomers. 3. 4E as the radical spirit of Vatican II Reformation. D&D 4E, with its drastic changes, is evocative of Vatican II's liturgical overhaul. D&D 4E broke with its predecessors, streamlining video game combat mechanics over narrative depth. This shift alienated traditional players much as the Protestant Reformation's rejection of papal authority and Catholic traditions did. It diluted the sacred essence of their traditions, catering instead to fleeting modern trends. 4. 5E and the Protestant mainstream. The widespread appeal of 5E reflects the broad, decentralized, inclusive, and adaptable nature of Protestantism. Just as Protestantism fractured into countless Christian denominations, 5E broke away from rigid adherence to earlier mechanics, embracing diverse playstyles and lifestyle content. Pride flags in gaming communities reflects its commitment to inclusivity, an aspect celebrated by some and vexed by traditionalists. The zeal of preservation. Both Sedevacantists and OSR players see themselves as defenders of an endangered heritage, yet they exist in dialogue with evolving fellowship and perspectives. These parallels highlight the universal tensions between tradition and innovation, showing how deeply human it is to grapple with change while yearning for an unchanging ideal. Their zeal stems from a belief that core traditions, whether the Latin Mass or the High Gygaxian Dungeon Master's Guide, are vital to preserving the essence of their faith or game. This devotion fuels their resistance to modern reforms and the disdain for perceived heresies. Whether in matters of faith or fantasy, these debates remind us of the power of shared experiences to inspire devotion and disagreement. Comparative rituals. The liturgy and the rulebook. The Latin Mass, with its strict rubrics, resembles the meticulous rules of AD and D1E, where every action was governed by codified mechanics. House rules and vernacular liturgy. As Vatican II allowed vernacular translations, 5E encourages customization and improvisation, emphasizing accessibility over rigidity. Conclusion. Bridges and chasms. The parallels between Sedevacantism and D&D edition wars reveal the universal nature of tribalism and tradition. Both communities wrestle with the tension between preserving their origins and adapting to a changing world. Ultimately, their debates underscore the human need for meaning, whether found in the roll of a die or the whisper of a prayer. May peace and prosperity be with you. Thank you for watching this presentation. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share my videos and channel to everyone you believe will appreciate such serendipitously informative content.